Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me here live on the Aspran Radio Network. And thank you very much to our lovely producer, Dave, behind the scene, behind the screen, behind the scene, more of the behind the scene for us here. So thank you very much. Now, I need to tell you, actually, you know what? I'm going to ground myself right now because I was really between two minds what to talk about or what to bring to you today to this show. Now, this is a show, Zsuzsanna Medium, and I'm your host, Zsuzsanna Hörcsög, and I'm here every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. EST and 8:30 p.m. GMT, and then 5:30 a.m. for the Australian audience. You see, I have done my little homework here to look into, who is listening or where you are listening from. But the reason I was feeling between two words was because I was thinking, yes, it would be quite nice to bring you readings or talking to you about various spiritual things. But you know very well my conversation about Anna Frank, and then this book is always behind me when I'm sitting here in my reader's corner. That is my reader's corner here. And I feel that I need to talk about this material and I need to talk about what she has brought forward. Even if you have listened to previous conversations or you watched the other shows before, I feel that today I need to resonate with this. I need to be in service to this energy, to this frequency, so that this conversation is continuing to evolve, continuing to evolve. Now, if you remember about, actually, I can give you the date exactly, on the 28th of March or the 30th of March, when I started the conversation, when I started the Anna Frank conversation, she gave us this information that we need to get ready, we need to get prepared. In fact, you know what I will do? If you have not watched the other 3 shows about the Anna Frank conversation, please feel free to go back. We have recorded these ones on the 30th of March, the first week of April, and then the first week of May, about the 6th of April, and then the first week of May, because you might find it useful to understand why the whole conversation is taking place, or why everything has come forward. Now, at the time, the 28th of March, when I started having the actual conversation, the recorded conversation with her, so she comes to me to my left side and she gives me the information and I had to record it. It's all voice recorded and I had to transcribe the whole material, which is in front of me right now, So that is very, very briefly just the background. And then she immediately came forward, her energy came forward that she wants to teach us, Now, 2 years ago, that was the first time when she popped into my timeline when I was doing a reading for somebody, So that was, and then also when the whole last year's conversation began about February and March, that was the time when she started coming forward to my left side and then indicating or showing me parallel moments in her life and my life. As soon as everything, our current situation started. And now the 28th of March this year. So going back there, so she was saying that she's giving us this 3-4 month time phase to prepare and then to get conclusions on conversations, to clear our space, to work with our energies, because afterwards something else is coming forward. And then you see at the back of my mind, I remember this because when she gave us this information, I was already thinking, yes, 3-4 month time is going to be the end of July and going into August. So it was always at the back of my mind, and I kept her advice and kept her conversation, because she was giving us guidelines. Get prepared, do things, get to those people you were maybe those conversations you were postponing. So you need to do things, because now the energies are moving into a different direction. So she was saying this, and the last few days I was again thinking about the book, because with the book, the original, the diary of a young girl, last year she said to me, just leave it a little bit, leave it a little bit. And then this year she said to me, start reading the original material, so that when I'm reading, when I would be reading it, then she would be giving me more information. So I need to read it and then I need to write at the same time. So that was the request. And then, to be honest, I have not started reading the original book, because in my mind, in my Zsuzsanna's mind, I was questioning. You know, I was always saying to you that I don't want to read historical things because I don't want any information in my mind. I'd like to work with the original energy, that light energy, you know. But then this book has been sitting here ever since, and then the last 2 or 3 days, I just had to pick it up, and then I was walking around, and then I was, you know, looking into it, not reading anything, but then just feeling the energy. I put it down, and with greatest honesty, about 4 hours ago, just before we started this show, I just had to pick up this book. I had to go outside to my garden with a pen, with a book, with a little notebook, and then I just had to be with the book. So it's just absolutely, absolutely amazing. You know, if you listen to the other conversations, coincidences, you know, I keep the book here because there is something I need to tell you about this here. Do you remember when we at the end of around Easter time, you know, the week leading up to Easter, the Passover, that was the time I told you a story that I was looking for a small photo of her to create a little poster, but I found a little photo with her birth date and then the appropriate or the approximate time when she passed, the date when she passed, and that was the 30th of March. I think it was the 30th of March, and then we believe that is when she passed. And then the next conversation, what she gave me was around that time as well. So I was actually quite surprised that this is how the coincidence would be working with her. So that within a few days, things were happening. And now again, today is the 3rd of August, 2021. So I had to pick up the book because the energy started talking to me again. So I opened the book, and on the at the very start, the foreword, you know, this section. Now we need to know now. Since then I figured out that we've got 3 versions. So this version, what I have here, includes the previously unpublished material. So it is really the fullest version available right now. So today is the 3rd of August. So the foreword says, Anna Frank kept a diary from the 12th of June, 1942 to the 1st of August, 1944. And then you see, when I was reading this, that I really had to pause and really had to think what the day was today, because I knew we started August, but in the sense that, you know, when you start reading something going back to the 1940s, then you know the sense of time is slightly different, especially after having had a conversation about Anna Frank. So she kept the diary until the 1st of August. And it says that she wrote strictly for herself. The last entry in this diary was dated on the 1st of August. And listen to this. On the 4th of August, 1944, so 71 years ago, 8 people who were hiding in the secret annex, were arrested. So, you know, a few months back, when we had to have the conversation, when she gave me a chunk of material, that was around the time when she passed, you know. And now she's giving us this conversation. She gave me that energy that I need to pick it up. I need to talk to you. I need to remind you. I need to bring this material back. I need to think. I need to feel the energy, what she gave us before, and then also asking us to listen to the previous conversations. And it seems that she's giving me these little hints and then related to dates in her life, within her timeline, what I'm experiencing, what we are experiencing in this current timeline, you know. So on the 4th of August, 1944, those 8 people who were hiding for over a year in that annex, they were arrested. She kept the diary, she kept writing until the 1st of August, 1944. So in fact, the book, what I'm holding here, especially the shorter version would be her diary, the original diary, was finished in that sense 71 years ago. you know. So I feel that, you know, that energy is really saying and really talking to us, you know. So I kept on reading. So, you know, like little pointers like this really, it really makes me think, or it makes me feel that actually there is more to it than just reading a book or talking about historical inquiries, you know, what I would normally label this work, like historical research, or not even research, because I don't want to look into it, and I'm not reading, I'm not looking for something. It is more of a historical inquiry, you know. So another interesting thing, when I continued reading, this little, just in the foreword, it says, one day in 1944, there was a member of a Dutch government in exile since 1944 who announced in a radio broadcast from London that after the war, he hoped to collect eyewitness accounts of the suffering of the Dutch people under the German occupation. So it's historical conversation, but what is really interesting, because there is this conversation about a radio broadcast from London, somebody who is saying that after the war finishes, he would like to find people, witnesses, and different conversations, so he can compile it and he can present the story of people on this occasion, the Dutch people suffering under the German occupation, you know, and then would like to make it public. And this person was specially mentioning letters and diaries. Now, the interesting thing here is this, in the original material, so now this is not what Anna gave me, but then the original material. This is how things come together, guys. Impressed by this speech, Anna Frank decided that when the war was over, she would publish a book based on her diary. She began rewriting and editing her diary, improving on the text. So what she was doing, that she started working through what she had already written, as well as continuing writing her own diary. So she quite purposefully prepared the material, prepared her own book in that sense, and then had an intention to do something with it, because she received this conversation through a radio broadcast from London. So now at this point, I really had to pause, because then I had to go back to the original material, what she gave us. And, you know, I really had to look for the information, because, you know, do you remember when she always talked about that she wants to teach us whatever way, whichever language she can speak or she can learn, or whichever country or region or community we are, she expressed quite a lot. She spoke quite a lot about how she would like us to, how she wants to teach us. You know, if you go back to the previous conversations, you will find his. But then I needed to find the original material, what she gave me at the end of March, really. So at that time, I've got this passage here. Then she was saying she was very grateful that she was given this opportunity to speak. So the opportunity to speak for her was to find a channel to give what she needs to give, so that we can share it with you here on this occasion, you know, on this network here. So she was very grateful, and she has been very grateful that she has this opportunity to speak. And then she expressed that knowing that there is this opportunity, she would prepare some teaching, so she would prepare some material, what we need to understand. So she's guiding us, so she can guide us through the times ahead. So that was her intention, to open a channel of communication, so that thoughts and expression can be summarized and can be prepared for the larger audience to have. Now, the reason I'm reading this, I explained to you that when we open the conversation, I have her energy, and then I'm hearing it in that sense, and I'm sensing it, and I'm speaking it out loud, and afterwards I write it down. So what I'm reading here is exactly what I was hearing and what I was sensing, you know. So she was expressing that she needed to open the channel of communication, so that these thoughts and expressions can be summarized and be prepared for the audience. And then she said she quite liked this experience. And she mentioned, now listen, this was a very interesting thing, because she mentioned, quote, there was time when she thought that she wanted to do something like that, or imagine the time that she's speaking, because there was a time when she felt that she was not understood. So she went into her own word to start writing her own diary. And in that sense, when she listens to that radio conversation, then she immediately knows that this is what she can do with her own material. So I hope you feel how things are, or see how things are coming together, So there is the original thing written here, expressed here, and then what she gave us here. And then she said that, quote, I could have lived my life that way, that I was given a channel of communication. And even if I don't know who is listening, that I know that I am doing the best, I am doing doing the right thing to speak my truth, to speak the truth, So it's quite remarkable, when I was reading just literally the first page of the foreword here, and immediately all this information is coming forward, and I'm getting the frequency what she has already given here, So I feel that, yes, I've got a few minutes. So I'm not going to go through the whole conversation because it is there for you to find. But then there are a few interesting things I feel it's important to mention, Remember the white dove? Do you remember the white candle? When she was speaking in Hebrew, she's giving us a chant, a prayer. Do you remember when she was talking about the 5 languages she wanted to learn, or she's continuing to learn because she wants to get to different communities all over the place to speak through those languages, to have those people. And then I was, my sensation was when I was reading this earlier, looking into it, that it's actually not the language she was really communicating or talking about, but then the frequency, what that language holds, so that she's tuning into the frequency, so that those people who speak certain languages all over the place, she's able to give the advice really, really specific to that area or to that community. So the language, under the word language, we need to understand a little bit more. It's frequency. So she's working with frequency. And also, do you remember when she said her frequency is joy? That's a very interesting conversation. So if you missed that, go back and listen to that. She was also talking about the heart energy. But you know what? I want to go a little bit into the historical part, because there are things we can read in her own diary, but then there are things we cannot read because the diary she did not continue continued with the diary, So do you remember when she was talking about the milk, when children were given something in the milk, in the form of milk, what she said. And that was after the family was taken away and then was taken into the camp, So remember, this is a historical conversation from the 1940s, 44, 45, So, and she was saying that the milk smelled foul, F-O-U-L, And I said to you that this is a word what she was using. It's not my vocabulary directly, but then it really gave the sense that it is her energy who is talking. And she's saying that the children who were thirsty, they would drink the milk. And then even though they felt it was foul, something was funny with the milk, something was strange with the milk, but they would be drinking it because they were thirsty. And then she mentions that when she noticed other people drinking the milk, she immediately knew that something was wrong, something did not fit right. And then she immediately sent that love and healing and blessing from her heart to those people who did not know it better, So this is what she's saying. And then later she's saying, I have witnessed such horror. I could have never imagined that I could witness that horror, Now for this point, she's saying that I would have lived my I would have lived my whole life, wearing that yellow star I had to wear. Even if I had to wear all my time, I would have done that as opposed to going through what I had to go through. So it is definitely not in her diary. So she's really bringing some other things here to us, And then she's saying, do you remember when she was talking about the doctors and then the people who shot the other people in the camp? Because she's saying that she saw the hands shaking of those people who shot the other people, because they were scared, but then they had to do what they had to do. But then they were exactly the same frequency, and they were just as scared as we were, when she was talking about that. And do you remember when she was saying, I wanted to be alive, I wanted to stay alive, I wanted to have everybody to stay alive, but this is not how things turned out, And then she also mentioned, if you remember, that those doctors who were there and who were experimenting them in that camp in the 1940s, remember, this is historical conversation, okay? They were also very scared because they did not know what they were doing, did not know what kind of injections they were giving to the people, they were themselves scared for their lives, just as scared as we were. It was just that very, very fine line separating us. But then she was saying that both of us were just as scared as the others. And then after this little quote, there's a long pause. Now, if you understand, the conversations, we had the short pauses and then a long pauses. So when she was talking about the historical part, she was talking about, when she was talking about the historical part, she gives a whole long pause because her energy changed quite profoundly, because my sensation was that she was really gathering that energy, that strength, so that she would give me a statement, and then there would be this long pause. And then I have the long pause on the original recording, the original voice recording. So her energy was quite different once she started talking about the historical conversation, the historical part, as opposed to the personal conversation where she talks about her own family, her relationship with her father, her relationship with her sister. And it's going to be interesting for me to now read, because she's asking me to read whether I find, or what I'm going to find. It's going to be interesting. Now she was saying, the last person I hugged was a child. The last person I hugged was a child, and I wanted to give reassurance to the child. Now, at one point, it's quite interesting. She was talking about the 1980s. Let me find let me see if I can find that one. She was showing me she was showing me 1988, 1989, and 1983, and then also 1973. So if you are interested in history, look into what happened during those years, because she was saying that that is when people started whispering, and it's good that things came out to the light, but it took years for people to be able to talk and have the strength and have the courage to start talking about what they have experienced during the Second World War, So it's the 1980s and 1988, 1989, and 83. She was saying within this conversation that as long as we have the courage in our heart, and even if we feel that the courage is a little bit weaker, but then she continued that you have to have the courage, and don't allow your courage to disappear from your heart, because you can't have the courage disappearing from your heart. Long pause again, So within this conversation, she was talking about not just what she experienced her life here as a living person, as a teenager, and also what she learned about life after she had passed, and then from that space she wants to teach us and making our life meaningful. But then that was that third level of the historical conversation here. So there are some really, really, I feel that's quite thought-provoking in that sense. She was talking about, how she wanted to sing, and then the mother said, don't sing, you can't sing. And I did not understand why I was told not to sing. And then there is one point when she talks about the hair, when her mother was really explaining to them that your hair is your pride, and then your hair belongs to you. And then she was another saying that when my hair was cut, my hair was cut more than twice. And then I always had a little scar on my scar because they cut it, and I felt it was painful. But then it was more painful because I remember the conversation with my mother, who was saying that your hair your hair belongs to you, that is your pride. Our hair is our pride, as the mother said. It belongs to us. Nobody can take it away, and we need to wear it with pride on our head. That was a conversation from the mom, So So if you missed any of the conversations, go back and, there are three points, because I've got like 1 or 2 minutes to finish the conversation. In the original message, what she gave as a message, if you remember, 2 things, I think they are quite important to remember. She was saying, Anna was saying that I can see nobody who would not be strong enough to manage what he or she needs to manage. So that is a message for us, those of us who live in this time right now, So we are, everybody strong enough to manage what we need to manage. And then another message was that don't hang on to the pain in your heart. Let it go, make every day count. If you feel that there is pain in your heart coming from the past, let it go. Don't carry it on. Don't carry on. Don't take it with you. You need to put it down. And every morning when you wake up, even if you remember it was there the night before, but next day you don't take it on. You don't carry it on. Make every day count. I've got 30 seconds left. In the original diary, a message. She starts the diaries when she says, I hope I will be able to confide everything to you, as I have never been able to confide in anyone. And I hope you will be a great source of comfort and support. And then, with this verse, this couple of verses, how she started the original diary. Think about when you are experiencing hardship or difficulties, or when those days come when we could feel a little bit blue or we don't know the answer. Just find that spiritual help within you, find that light within you, So find that great source of comfort and support. So I hope you found this conversation interesting. Might have felt a little bit just going through, but I was really drawn to talk to you because that is 71 years ago when this came together. Well, it happened in a way it happened, and we need to. So there is a lot of message and healing from her. So.